what we need to understand is that there was a very recent survey report in 2023 that is called the GAIS India 2023 report. You can find it in the Google. According to this report, uh, what revealed is that the 32% of the Indian students aspire to become, to launch their startup after their degree or graduation. So almost 32% of the Indian students wants to become an entrepreneur. That is one of the facts. And then another very interesting fact about the engineering students is that it is a very recent survey by the Economic Times last year 2024. The top 200 self-made entrepreneurs. Out of this top 200 self-made entrepreneurs, the 50% has engineering backgrounds. That means there is a very high chance of success in the entrepreneurship if you come from the background of the engineering. Right. So these are the little background and a fact about entrepreneurship in India right now, the students. And as well as our country, the India is trying to become the third largest economy in the next 1 decade. And for that purpose, the Indian government is pushing to be with a movement called the Swavalambi Bharat. So, you know the meaning of the Swavalambi, right? So, what is that? Self-reliant India, right? So, in the last 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, we have been seeing there were 50% tariff in the Indian export by the Donald Trump, right? And it is tumbling down the stock market and everything. There is a big shift in the geopolitical scenario. And so the Indian government has been with this movement of the Swavalambi Bharat and the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, okay, to develop, to use our own indigenous products and the services built in our country. So to achieve all this mission of our country, we need a lot of entrepreneurs, not only the job seekers. So with this aim, I would like to introduce what actually is an entrepreneurship by looking at the story of myself, how we have started, and how it is so different than just be a job seeker. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, what is that you need to learn or you need to possess more than a job seeker? Okay? So let me start my journey, then the story of my journey. So it was around 1999. And I believe today most of the students out here, most of you must have been born after 2000, I think. Right? Is there anyone who is born before 2000? No one. Okay. So, in the tech, we usually call the people or the children who are born after 2000 as Generation G, right? So, most of you are Generation G. Okay. And we were in the border of Generation X and Y because I was born in 1979. So, the Generation Y started around the 1980s and 81s. And the people who were born before the 1980s, they were called the Generation X, right? And now there is another generation called the Generation Alpha. What is that? After 2020. Okay. So this is a very interesting time of the human history that all the four types of the generation are living together. But each one of the generation has their own values and they have a quite different value system. So if you look at the Generation X, what happened? Generation X might be my father's age, okay? And they never have known the electronic things. In their lifetime, the telephone and all, it came around the 1990s. and a computer is something, it is very hard for them to learn. Then for the generation Y, the people like us, in our lifetime, the computers were introduced and the internet were introduced for the first time. And we used to go to the computer training centers to learn the basic of the computers, and so that we become computer literate or digitally literate. But the people who are born as a Generation X, they never have gone to a computer training center to learn the computers. They know computers. They know how to use the mobile phone by the age of the 3 or 4. Have you ever gone for a training for using Android? How to use Android? No one had gone, right? But in our time, we used to go to the computer training centers for the basic training course on how to use the computer, right? And what about the Generation Alpha? You don't need to teach anything to Generation Alpha. I have a little son. My daughter is in 10+2 now, and my son is just at class 3. He knows everything. Yeah. He uses WhatsApp, he has his own YouTube channels, he has his own Instagram, right? And his sister, she used to import the items through the Alibaba from China, and she used to sell through the Instagram. And then my son, he just asked me yesterday, while we were at the bedtime, while we were about to sleep, and he just asked me how do I can take a photograph with a camera and how do I can transfer that photos to the mobile. Then I asked, what is the purpose? Then he was telling like he wants to start a sticker selling business on Instagram. Because he was watching what his sister was doing. Yeah. And he knows. They know everything. Whatever we are doing. Sometimes they know much better than us. We need to learn, but they don't need to learn. So there is a big difference between each and every generation we are having today. And so, like that, for as per my context, I was born in Generation Y. That is why you have to know about my story, right? Because I'm not in the Generation Z or the Alpha. So, for the first time in my life, the internet was introduced in the year 1999. In Manipur, the internet was started using in 1999. One day I went to one of my friends' home, and they used to have a desktop computers. So the desktop computer was very costly in those days. It cost around 1.5 lakhs to 2 lakhs. So just imagine 1.5 lakhs in 25 years back. What is the value of the money at that point? Right now it must be around 25 to 30 lakhs in today's value. So hardly anybody has desktop computers. So I had a friend who had a computer. So I went there one day, and two or three of my friends, they were watching at that computer's website for the first time. So and they have introduced me what is the website in that particular day. And the first website I had ever seen in my life was the website of NASA. We were checking out the rocket or the spaceship of the NASA. And it was a very fascinating, kind of the stimulating event for me in my entire life. And then the next, my friend told me that there is something called email. So what he said was, in the next few years, everyone will be using email. Nobody will be sending postcard or a postal mail. Then, on that particular day, we have opened one email ID for myself. That email ID is named Mr. _Kumar 22 at yahoo.com. Today, how many of you have a yahoo.com email ID? One or two or three, four, right? So Yahoo was a very popular company in those days, more than the Google. So everyone used to open the email ID at Yahoo. Maximum number of the people used to have email ID at Yahoo. So I also had one. These two things happened on that particular day. I came to understand what is a website, what is the internet, and what is an email ID. At that particular moment, I asked myself, who designed a website? There must be someone who designed the website of NASA, right? There must be a designer or a developer behind that website. So as I was a person who is living in a brought up in Manipur, this is a very, what to say, aloof and a very disconnected place in India. What I thought was, if I can develop website, I can host a website for many of the organizations out here in Manipur, and they can be seen globally. Just like anybody can see the information of an organization in US or Australia or London. So that means the information is democratized, irrespective of the location you were located. That was the very simple inspiration that inspired me to become a computer engineer. So 1999, I have completed my 10 plus 2 in the year 1998, and I was selected in the 2-3 times in the engineering entrance test. But I was preparing for the IITG at Delhi, but I could not go through it. And so that is how I was there at 1999 without going any further study. And so I decided I had to become a computer engineer. And so the next year I got selected again, and I got a computer engineering at that particular college called the Thiagaraja College of Engineering in Madurai. So that is how I started. That inspired me to become a computer engineer. So at that particular moment of joining the engineering course, my only vision was to become a web designer. I don't know about any other technology, but I wanted to become a website designer. Because the website designer was a very rare profession in those days. Okay. And you can make a lot of money. Everyone was looking for the website designer in those days. Right? And so luckily I joined this course, computer engineering. But my vision was not to become an entrepreneur. Just like any other computer engineering graduate, I had an American dream. I wanted to go to Silicon Valley, and I wanted to work at Yahoo or something, the multinational corporations at San Francisco or California. So in our times, I don't know today, but in our time, most of us always thought about America only. If you are a computer engineer, then the Silicon Valley is the mecca for them, right? And so that is the same vision. So, so that is how I engineering. And one of the best thing about my engineering days was that we were the first batch in the college who were taught about the web technologies. Before 2000 or 2001, there were only desktop applications. Hardly there were web applications. Every software had to be built on the Visual Basic kind of things. Have you heard about a Visual Basics? Right. So now you must be hearing about a Visual Studio, right? And so in those days, if we think about the developing software, we have to build software for the desktop applications. But we were very lucky that we were the first generation that and we have got exposure to the web technologies in those days very early. But during the course of my engineering days, what happened is one of my parents became a cancer patient. Yeah. And I was the eldest son in the family. I had two more brothers and one sister. And so it was by the time that my father, when I came back to Manipur because of the semester holiday, my father told me that you forget about going for the further study or going to the US. So instead, you think about earning. Because of the treatment of both my parents, that my family has gone into the financially bankrupt, and it was in a very dire strait, dire conditions financially. And so by third year, I started thinking what I have to do after completion of my engineering. Because my plan was to go to US. So in the first year, I had prepared for TOEFL, I had prepared for SAT, for going to US. But suddenly, all the plan had crumbled, and I need a plan B. So the plan B, what I was looking is, what kind of the profession will give me the highest salary? That was my plan. So I was looking for each and every salary packages, what the company were offering. But I found that the merchant navy was one of the very great salary packages they used to give. And then even I thought for the Air Force technical officer. Their salary was much higher than what most of the MNCs were giving at that point of time. So even I was selected in the Air Force technical officer at Chennai. And then by the seven or eight semesters, the campus interview started in the college. And our college had a 90% campus placement in those days. So in the first three companies, that is, I think TCS, Wipro, and IBM, I think. That three company had already recruited around 300 students out of the 600 on that in the year 2004. But I was in a very dilemma that should I go back home to Manipur or should I join a company and work out of Manipur? So that was the kind of thinking in my head in those days. Sometimes I wanted to come back to Manipur to stay together with my family. And sometimes I know that if I come back to Manipur, there is no companies and no job for me. And so if I have to become a computer engineer, then obviously I have to join some kinds of the company out there in Bangalore or Chennai or somewhere. So during the campus interview, I was placed in one of the company called the Inotics at Chennai. So Inotics was a technological outsourcing center for the Bank of New York in India. So I was selected out there. So on that particular day of the result was received, I was in Mumbai along with one of my friends. In my life, the hardest decision I had ever taken was the day I got job. Because I was in a dilemma that should I join the job or should I start my own company? Because for the last 1 or 2 years I was thinking about starting my own company, but the day had come that I should take the decision. Thinking and the decision are two different things. You can keep on thinking without taking any decision. So for the last 2 years, in the third year and the fourth year, I kept on thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, but I never had taken a decision. But now I had a job offer in my hand, and I have to take a decision. So that decision will completely change the trajectory of my career and my life. And so it was not a very easy decision. But my father used to tell me that in those days, what my father said was, the happiest day in the life of a man is the day you get a job. It was the word that my father used to tell me. But to me, it was the hardest day in my life. So I joined the job or not. Okay. So it was a Friday, and I was in Mumbai, and I have booked a flight ticket from Mumbai to Imphal the next day on Saturday morning, 5 o'clock. And then I have booked another flight ticket from Imphal to Chennai on Sunday because I have to report to the company, join the company on Monday, 9 o'clock. But on the Friday night, what I did was, I was calling to around 30 of my friends who were software engineers working in different companies in Bangalore and Chennai. I was taking a survey. My first question was, how much is your salary? Then my second question was, how much you can send home back? Right. So I talked to around 30 software engineers. And my salary was around, the offered salary was 13,000 in those days. The TCS was offering around 7,000 or 8,000 as a starting salary in those days. 13,000 is not a very bad 20 years back. And I had a friend. She is a Tamilian. She was my classmate, and she only joined to this company. She was from Kanyakumari. And I called her out and I asked, how much you get? Then she told me I used to get around 13,000 after all the deductions. And then the next question is, how much you can send home? She told me 2,000. Like that, I was asking many people. Then there was one of my senior in our college who had joined to the TCS in Chennai. He was from Manipur already. He was the then senior to me. And I asked this brother, how much you get? He told me 18,000. And how much you can send home? And he told me that, Roshni, I don't know about the others, but for me it is not enough, so I call from home every month. That was the answer he had given me. Still I am calling money from home. Even after working at TCS. So, after talking to 30 software engineers, my best answer was 2,000 rupees. And the worst case was calling from home. So with this report or the survey or with this information, I had to take a decision. What is the best for me at that particular time? So I came back to Manipur the next day in the morning flight, and I reached here around 2:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon. And then that particular Saturday night, I can't sleep. I just kept on thinking, should I go or not? Should I go or not? Then Sunday morning, it was almost 8:30 in the morning. My flight is on 11:30. Then my mother come to my room around 8:30. I was still on the bed because I was thinking, I could not decide, should I go or not? Then my mother came to me and she just told me that if you are going, your flight is at 11:30. So you have to report the airport at 9:30. I had only 1 hour. And then, as soon as my mother just went out of the room, the next 5 minutes, I think everything of my life in that 5 minutes. Once I go to Chennai, how many days I will get holiday? It may be around 10 days. Then 1 or 2 days will be gone on the journey, right? If I come by train, then it will be gone by 3 to 4 days. And then how many things I have to sacrifice and how much I will get. It is 2000. But I have to leave the home. I have to leave my brothers, sisters, my families, my ailing parents for the sake of 2000 rupees. With this information and with this insight, I just decided at 8:45 a.m. I went straight to my mother and I said, I'm not going. I lost the flight ticket. It was not refunded. And since that day, I stopped looking for a job. I never had looked for any job. I started my business in the next 2 months. So our company name is Globis. Globis was the name I have coined while I was in the third year. I used to write this name on the blackboard in my room, in my classroom. Every one of my friends, they will ask, what is Globis? Then I will say, it is the name of my company. Then everyone will mock on me and they will laugh at me. So you're not going to become a software engineer. You're not going to US. And so like that I have coined this word, the Globis. So why I coined this word is that GLO, that means global online. BIZ, that means business. S means solution. Global online business solution. Because at that point of time, I know that almost every business will become online in the next 5 to 10 years. And every business needs a website, right? Every business needs email ID. But today email ID is more like a free thing, right? But in those days, having an email ID, putting an email ID on your visiting card is a luxury. The people look at you and you have an email ID, right? And then if you can put a website URL, then you are somewhere. That was the kind of the positioning for any business owner. So in those days, what I did was, the first business I started was selling web hosting packages. How many of you know web hosting? Okay. So web hosting is nothing but a hard disk. Okay. So if you have a website, the content of your website has to be put in stored in some hard disk somewhere. And that computer should be online, 24 by 7. Right? If it is shut down, you can't access the website. So that is what we call the web server. And so selling web server is one of the most profitable business on that day, on those days. So you can buy for rupees 2,000. For rupees 2,000, you can buy 1 GB hard disk space from US. And you can sell in India for 40,000 rupees. That is so pricey and very costly in India in those days. And in 2004, in India, there are only 1 or 2 banks in India that issue credit card or debit card or internet banking. So the first bank in India that gave the service of the internet banking was the ICICI Bank. And we were very lucky that the ICICI Bank was our campus bank. And so each one of us, every student has a debit card and the internet banking in the year 2000. So we buy product from the online through the debit card. In those days, there were no Flipkart, there were no Amazon. eBay was there. Do you know eBay? Nowadays, I think it is heard very, what is say, frequently, or it is not so popular. But eBay was a very big company in those days. And so we used to buy product from the eBay using the debit card. We were a privileged Indian citizen, having a debit card in 2000. And then after some time, many other banks started offering the debit card and all. So in 2004, there was a shopping website called the Rigid Shopping. Any one of you know the Rigid Mail? Yeah, one or two. So in our time, Rigid Mail was also one of the very popular IT company. So there was something called a rigid shopping. And how do you buy the online product? You know, we send money order or demand draft. No internet. 5 to 6 years before the flip news, the shopping was there. India Times shopping was there. Those business ideas were the ideas ahead of time because the people were not ready, the banking were not penetrated enough to the government, and so they were not so popular. Those were the time we started our business. And so it took me around 2 months to develop my first website called blogspot.com. I have coded, I have done the coding for 2 months without sleeping, and then I launched my website, selling web hosting services from Manipur. And I was very much fascinated by the online business because at online business you don't need any office, you can work from home, you can work from your bedroom, and while you are sleeping the money flows in. That was the most interesting part of online business, right? That was my dream. And so that particular day I launched my website at around 9 o'clock, and I have invested around rupees 100 on the Google advertising. You know Google Ads. When you go to any website, you see the Google Ads, right? So the Google Ads were very cheap in those days. To bring one visitor to your website, you need to pay only 25 paise. So if you have 100 rupees, Google will give you around 400 visitors on your website. That was exactly I have done on that day. I have invested 100 rupees. I put in Google advertising, and I wake up in the next morning at 5 o'clock. I went straight to my desktop and I checked it out. I have got one sales. It was 1,000 rupees. One web hosting package of 10 MB cost 1,000 rupees in those days. 10 MB. Nowadays, even you don't know what is the purpose of 10 MB. Right. But in those days, the 10 MB of the hard disk space cost 1,000 rupees. So that is what my first customer used to buy. Then my first customer was from California. Because I was advertising globally. So that was my first customer. But the sad part is that for the next 3 months, I cannot get a second customer. So almost 6 months was over, but I had only one customer with 1,000 rupees. I had to spend some money on the advertising and that, but it doesn't work. So because of this failure, afterwards I came to know that what was wrong with me in those days. I didn't have the knowledge of the marketing. I was a technical graduate. I know how to build a website, I know how to build a software, but I don't know how to do the marketing. That was my biggest mistake. Right. That is something I had come to realize after 7 or 8 years of running the business. And so after failing this online business, I started looking into the Manipur market. Before I was thinking globally, and then I was thinking of why not I taste the Manipur market. Then one fine day, I just borrowed 600 rupees from my girlfriend. So because as I said, my family was in complete bankrupt. I spent and I had invested for advertising in one of the very popular newspaper in Manipur for 5 days. One day it cost 120 rupees. And so for 5 days it is 600, right? And with this 5 days of advertising, I received two calls from Imphal. But in those days there were no mobile phone, only landline phone. Do you know landline phone? So I missed the first call because I was not at home. And the second call, luckily, I had picked it up as I was at home. And the first question this customer was asking me was, can you design website? Right? But the advertisement I was putting on the paper was not for website. What is that? Web hosting. But the client was asking me, can you design website? Yes, obviously I can design, right? Then I said, yes, I can design website. So we have set an appointment to their company office the next day. I went there, and the first question again in the meeting, how much you will charge? But I was not prepared for the pricing. I don't know how much the people used to charge because I never thought I would sell website. Then, as a student and just passed out from the college, I thought that 5,000 rupees is a very huge amount. So I said 5,000. And then the client used to ask me, what is your term and conditions? Then I said, you have to pay me 50%. So he write a check of 2,500 rupees in the name of my company. But the problem is, I don't have a bank account. That first client, it was a public limited company, not a small business. And so, as a compliance, they cannot use cash for any purchase. They have to use only check. So to withdraw that 2,500 rupees, I have to again open a bank account that cost me 2,000 rupees. And then I got 500 rupees. That 500 rupees, I have to buy the domain name for the website. I have to buy the web hosting. And also with that remaining 2,500, I have to do the website design. Yes, obviously it was my first time and I was really happy. And I never have been happy just like that in my life with that 5,000 rupees. Today, when we receive a few lakhs or crores, I don't feel that happiness anymore. That 5,000 or the first client, that was the most remarkable thing in every entrepreneur's life. The first client, the first sales. Right. And I had got the advance 2,500 and then I had withdrawn that money. It was a Diwali. I had purchased rasgulla on that day. I brought home with a packet of the rasgulla and I had given to my brothers and my fathers, whatever. And but the thing is, during that time, by 2005, my mother passed away. Then by 2007, my father passed away, both of them. So in those days, I could not focus on my business. I was doing business just as a freelancer because I used to stay in Mumbai, Tata Memorial for the cancer treatment for almost 6 months every year. So I had only 2 to 3 months to work on my projects. So whenever I come back home, I will take up one or two projects. So That first project of 5,000 rupees, it took me 3 months to complete the project. Then what must be the profit? That remaining 2,500, it has been already utilized on traveling to their office around 15 times or 20 times in that 3 months. Okay? But anyway, I have got the first client, local client. That is how I started. Then once I finished this project, I knew that my pricing was wrong because I was not making any profit. So I checked it out through Google, how much the people are charging, how much the company are charging in those days. So in those days, the people are charging on the number of pages. So the first home page, it costs around 5,000. The first home page. Every subsequent pages, it costs 3,000. Okay. For that particular customer, I have developed a website with around 20 pages. At the close of the home page. That is something I had come to realize after doing some survey of many of the website design company in India. So the second project, I became somewhat wiser. I know I became more professional, then I become more intelligent. So the second project came from for one of the Navodaya Vidyalaya. Right. One of the Navodaya Vidyalaya in Nagaland, their computer teachers called me up. I don't know from whom he got my number. In those days, I didn't have any office space or nothing. And it was the Saturday evening. He called me up. And what he was saying is that particular class computer teacher was from Manipur. So next Sunday, the next day, he is coming to Imphal morning. Because from Nagaland to Imphal is around 2 to 3 hours of journey. So what he was saying is, I will come to your home and you please design the website and launch it by 3 o'clock the next day. I have to start designing by morning, then launch by evening. That was the condition of that institute. Because by the Monday morning, he will go back again to Nagaland. So I said, okay. Then I just asked, how many pages? So I said, the minimum package starts from 5 pages. So, and I have given a offer of around 10,000 rupees. And he reached my home the next morning around 6:30 in the morning. I just woke up and brushed, even I didn't have a breakfast. But the thing is, in those days, in Manipur, the electricity was not 24 by 7. It was 3 hours per day. And we don't have laptop. We have only desktop. Okay. And so, designing the website for 7 to 8 hours sitting at one go, it was not possible at home. So what I did was, I went to a cyber cafe. Do you know cyber cafe? Yeah. So I went to a cyber cafe. And the cyber cafe, in 1999, in Imphal, the first cyber cafe they used to charge 90 rupees per hour. Okay? And the speed of the internet is 25 kbps. kbps. Okay? Today, how much is that in Geo? You are using minimum of 30 Mbps at Geo, right? Then 100, 300. But we are using 25 kbps. If you want to know how fast is the 25 kbps means, if you are trying to download a 50 MB file, if you start by 9 o'clock in the morning, it will be end by 9 o'clock at night. To download a 50 MB file, it takes 12 hours. And unluckily, if your internet connection becomes disconnected, you have to restart again. from the start. That was the kind of the speed. And so, by 2004, the cyber cafe used to charge around 20 rupees per hour. So, for that particular day, for the next 8 hours, I have rented 2 computers, one for me and one for teachers. And so, whatever content we have to put up in the website, I just asked him to type it out on the MS Doc. And then I started designing website parallelly alongside with him, sitting together. And then by 2:30 o'clock, the website was ready. By 3 o'clock, it was launched. By 3:30, I got the 10,000 rupees. So working for a single day and getting 10,000, then somewhat it makes sense, right? But for the first project, it took me 3 months for 5,000 rupees. That is how I started becoming the version 2 of the business, what to say, uh, version 2 of my business journey. Okay. And then, one fine day, while I was in Mumbai, along with my parents, that first customer, my first customer, just called me up. And he wanted to put up some photography in the website. In those days, there were no digital camera. That a photograph means that a Kodak comes with a roll and all, with a film, and then you have to process and you get a photo in the paper only. So the client used to give us with paper photo only. Then at that point of time, I had already surveyed most of the companies, how much they charge and how do they do those things. And this particular client asked me, can you put some photos? And I said, yes. Then I asked, how many photos? He told me 50 photos. Then I said, one photo will cost around 500 rupees. So 50 photos, how much? 35,000. Then I said, okay, 50 photos will cost 25. Then the client said, yes, let's do that. Then after 2 or 3 days, I came back to Manipur from Mumbai. Then as soon as I reached here, I took that project. I have scanned all those 50 photos and put into the Adobe Photoshop and do some kinds of the, what do you say, beautify with one of the graphics designer. I don't know graphics design. Okay. And so then by next day I have put up all the 50 photos and I got 35,000 with 1 day of work. How much could I have said back home if I was working in Chennai? 2,000. 2,000 is 4 photos. Right. 500 into 4. So like that, I started having the taste of being an entrepreneur from being an engineer. I started enjoying what is an entrepreneurship. But I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. What I know is how to build a website. That's all. Right? And then, what my parents passed away. Then by 2006, I had rented a office space, a very small office space of 5 to 6 people. That is how I started. Then, in the entire Manipur, I have developed in my life, I myself have developed around 200 website projects. My own body. So, in the daytime, I will go for marketing and sales. Then at night, I will become software engineer. During the daytime, I am a salesman. Okay, we will keep on going to each and every hospitals, then organizations, everywhere. And then we keep on developing website. And in those days, the very standard rate for the website, we have put around 45,000. 45,000 was a very standard rate. And so in a month I could earn around 2 to 3 lakhs. So if I can develop 4 websites, 5 websites. Yeah. So like it was going on. But till 2010 or 11, uh, I could not grow much of my business because I could not reinvest anything to my business because of my family situation. So one of my brother was in Maharashtra. He was studying B.Pharm in Amravati. Then both of other one more brother and one sister, they all were studying. And so whatever money I get, it is all spent on expenditures of my parents and whatever be any kind of expenditure. I cannot put even a single rupees into my business. Yeah. By 2010 or 11, what happened in my family after both my parents passed away, there was a lot of debt in my family. That was my first agenda to repay all those debts. And but one of the biggest lessons I have learned in my life is in the year 2009 and 10. By 2009, I was so much in debt because of all this scenario, not because I have borrowed from the people. There was one of my friends. She was my classmate. She was also a WN. And she was working in the Huawei in Bangalore at that point of time. And she had helped me a lot in terms of the money. Whenever I need money in those very hard days, she will do crowdfunding to our classmates. And she will send me around 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs to my bank account. Yeah. That is the kind of the person she helped me. And I used to say that I promised her that I will pay back all this money in the next 6 months. But I could not do it for next 2, 3 years. And so she got a lot of pressure from all my classmates because she was the one who had taken the responsibility of collecting the funds to help me. And then in 2009, I had this. I no more think about repaying those debts because I didn't have any enough resources and I could not earn that much. Even though I was earning around 2 lakhs or something, there was not enough to repay those debts. And so what happened, I have disconnected each and every one of my friends. That particular email ID I had opened in 1999, Mr. underscore Kumar 22 at yahoo.com, was deactivated in 2009 so that no one could reach me. Then there was a social network before the Facebook, Orkut. Do you know Orkut? Orkut was a short life. There were some 3 or 4 years of Orkut. We were using Orkut. The Facebook we started using in 2010. But by 2007, we were using Orkut by Google. It was one of the very great social networking sites. And so I just shut down my account at Orkut. And like that, I was completely alone in 2010. I had no friend or nothing. My phone number were changed, email were deactivated, nothing, no trace of me. Right. That was one of my biggest mistakes in my life. But by 2010, by the end of the 2010, I had come to realize this particular mistake. After reading one of the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Anybody read the book The Richest Man in Babylon? Try to read. It is a very short book. The Richest Man in Babylon. It is a very classic. And it is all about the personal finance. Written 100 years back. Okay? It is a classic on the finance. So, after reading this book, I came to realize the mistake I had made in my life. 2011, 12, I started building again my life from the whatever lesson I have learned from this book. So one of the great thing about me is that I have inculcated the habit of reading very early during my engineering days. Till today, what I do is I read more than 50 books every year. Every year. During Corona times, I have read around 80 books per year because there were no work. So that is something that gave me the inspirations and that gave me the hope during those hard times. So I always recommend every youth to read books. You know, every billionaires read 50 to 100 books every year. Starting from the Elon Musk to the Warren Buffett or Bill Gates, anyone. They all read books. So you just try to read books. Not your technical. Your technical will be there. Okay? It will be, in any case, you will learn in the college. But you need more than that to live the life, to face the life. The coding cannot face your life. Okay. You need more knowledge than that. So in my life, after reading a lot of books, what I came to understand is that, see, in the engineering you will have 8 semesters. So how many books might be there in one semester? How many? On an average of around 10? 8? So let us say it is 8 or something. So in the entire 8 semester, you will learn around 60 books. Okay? So let us think about the medical profession. Someone will read around 50 or 60 books to become a doctor. You will learn around 50 to 60 books to become an engineer. Someone will learn around 50 to 60 books about law to become a lawyer. In any field, read 50 books, you can become a professional in that. And the best thing is, you don't need to know 100%. Do you know 100% of all the books? You need only 50% to get a pass mark. Right? So, those engineering courses you will learn in college. But what about your personal finance? So I will ask a very simple questions. Today, most of you must be around 18 years, 19 years to 20 years, right? So let us say you are at 20 years now. And then you are going to live up to 90 years. Let us say 90 years is your last day on this planet. So how many years remaining for you? 70, right? So on that particular day of your last moment on this planet, how much money you will leave behind for your children? How much? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought? Just think about it. That is personal finance. So, how much your father will live for you? You think? How much? How many crores your father will live for you? See, my father didn't live anything, okay? After working 20 to 20, 30 years, all the money had gone to treatment of the cancers, right? So, you just think about these questions today and go to ChatGPT. Okay? If you can invest just 1,000 rupees every month for the next 70 years with an annual interest of 15%, you can make more than 100 crores in the next 70 years. That is what Warren Buffett did. That is how he became a billionaire. You should check it out today. Go to the chat GPT, ask how much money I have to invest every month for the next 70 years to get a corpus of 100 crore. It is 1000 rupees. It is the cost of a KFC. If two or three of your friends go to KFC, it will cost more than 1000 rupees, right? But that 1000 rupees can make you a crorepati if you know the personal finance. But in your entire lifetime, hardly you will earn 100 crore by working for a job. Except the people like Sundar Pichai. But 90% of the people won't make that much money because the people don't have that much purpose by working. It is by investing. So this kind of things, what I am saying today, you have to start very early. You can't just focus on your job or you can't just focus on your technical coding. Coding cannot make you 100 crore coffers. Otherwise, you check it out. All the engineers working across the world, except very few who are in the top CEO or CTO level, right? That too in a billion-dollar company, not in the 100 crore company. Okay? So those things, those kind of relation, you can learn from the books, not from the college. So this kind of the knowledge that will give you and that will have you succeed in life. But a college degree will get you a job. But if you really want to be really successful in life, you need more than the technical knowledge you learn in the college. That's why you need to learn more number of the subjects. It may be in the finance, it may be in the marketing, so many things. That's why we keep on learning. So far, I have read more than 400 books. So just imagine, one of my friends who never have read books. What is the difference? 400 books. Right. So how many books are there in the world? Okay, let us forget about the world. You just go to the Amazon and check it out. How many books are there? Millions of books are there. And let us say you read one book every month. That means you read 12 books per year. In 10 years, you will read 120 books. In the next 70 years, how many books you will read? 7,000. Your life is only 7,000 books. Your lifespan is 7,000 books. But if you look at Amazon, there are millions of books. You will leave this planet without reading those books. Right? And do you know how many living beings and living species are there on this planet? Animals, anything. Dog, monkey, anything. You just put it. How many are there? Millions of living species are there. Okay? And we are one among those millions. And we are the only species who can read books. Can your dog in your home read books? No? Have you ever seen a dog writing a book? No? We humans are the only species on this planet to be able to write books and read books. And if you don't read books, then what is that? You are just like the rest of the million of species. Okay. It is the only opportunity. If you are born as a dog, you can't read books. But we are very blessed that we all are born as a human today. So it is the only rare opportunity for you to succeed in life to read books. Okay. That is what every millionaires and billionaires do. Every great leader does. There is no leader who doesn't read books. Leaders are readers. You have seen the quote, right? how, I don't know, by somehow I started reading books at the age of around 16 or 17. Then now I keep on reading. So those books have already saved me from all those situations of my life. And then by 2012, I stopped working as an engineer. Yeah. Do you know why? If any of you in the future, if you start a business, you just remember this particular talk I am going to share. So most of the engineers, when you start a business, you don't behave like a business owner. You will keep on behaving like a software engineer. There is a big difference between being a business owner and being an engineer. What is the best thing about being an engineer, you know? My product. When you build something really great, even though it doesn't make money, you feel happy. Even though it doesn't make money, if you feel happy. That is the value of an engineer. You feel happy with the product, even though there is no money. So today there are so many startups who have great product without any money. And they shut down. They don't have, and they love, they have the romance with their product. That is one of the big loophole of every engineer. So like that, I was also working in the same way. I always thought my design is the best in the market. Then I feel happy, even though I make only 5,000. But by 2012, I started looking back in my journey and I checked it out. I realized that my business was not that much growing as it was supposed to grow. And the main reason was I was not working as a business owner, but I was working as a software engineer. So I was too much focused on the product. The whole night I will keep on waking up and do coding, and I don't have time for thinking about the business. Right. And then by 2012, I had promised myself I will not work anymore on the project. I stopped. And then I started moving into the 100% of my time on the management, about the leadership, marketing, sales, people. Okay. So many things. I went for conference, or training, or seminars, not on the technical subjects, but on other areas. And then the business started growing like 2x, 3x every year. That was a very hard lesson I had learned in my life. It took me around 8 years to understand that being an engineer is different than a business owner. Being an entrepreneur had a completely different mindset than being an engineer. Yeah. Got the point? And so today I'm a mentor to many of the startup community, like the Software Technology Park of India. So last month also I was mentoring around 15 startups. And the same thing happened to it's one of them. They are not making money, they are creating great product. And they are happy. But business can't survive without income. Only the product cannot build your business. So I was mentoring those most of the startups like that. And so like that we keep on going. And then in the beginning, what we did was we were mostly selling to the private sector project. And then by 2009, we had started moving into the government sector. So today, we are working with around 140 government organizations. And we work on very critical and confidential projects for many of the government projects. And that is how we build our business, through resilience and with no money, with that 600 rupees. You remember that 600 rupees? Right. But the good thing is that my girlfriend is now my wife. And we are the two different poles. I'm the North Pole, she's the South Pole. That means she's the doctor, right? And I was in engineering. And so from this, what I have learned is that if you want to, for the male, if you want to become an entrepreneur, it is much easier if you get married first. Do you know why? Because you can use their gold or whatever ornaments they used to bring. Then it can become your SIP fund or angel funding. So your wife can be your angel funder, right? So that is how we started, okay? And so now we are working on many things. Now the world has changed. We started with website. Then by 2010-11, the mobile app world had begun. Then in our time, there was no mobile phone. But 2011, we have to build mobile app. But we never had learned. So we have to keep on learning. Then by 2018-19, we started learning blockchain. Then in the last 2 years, the AI becomes everyone's craze. Then now we have to build AI applications. So from this perspective, from the technological perspective, if you become a student of engineering, especially in the IT, then your learning never stops. And the world is very much changing in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay? So, at the last note, I will just give you this context. So in the 1800, in a city like the London, there were 1 million people, 1 million citizens. And do you know what is the most popular job in those days that the people used to work? The highest number of jobs that were created on those days. Any idea? What? Construction workers. Okay. See, in those days, there were no automobiles. So the people used horse cart, where the passenger vehicles. Then the rich people used to have their own 2 horses and one cart. There are horse drivers, riders. There are taxi service with a horse cart, right? But the problem, there were around 5,000 horses in the city of London in 1800. And those poops of those horse, and you can say horse dung. How many kilos of the horse poops were defecated by its horse, in a day? 7 to 15 kilos. So 10 kilos of the horse dung were scattered on the road by its horse. And 5,000 horses, how many kilos? 50,000. So there were so many of the jobs that the people with a shovel, for every 1 kilometer, there is a job for someone to clear those things. It was one of the number one jobs in the city of London. If you don't clean those things on the road, what will happen in the next 1 week? You can't go. You can't walk on the road. So there was a big industry around this horse. And by 1827 or something, the first automobile started in the world. Then by 1900, this particular industry has been completely wiped out. There were no horse, nothing. The people lost jobs. And then a completely new industry began with oil pump, the, the showroom for the car sellers, the workers that can repair your car, then the shop that can sell your automobile parts. So many has been started. In the same way, in the next 2-3 years, we are going to lose so many of jobs because of the AI. And then many other new jobs are going to be created. And as technical students who are in this crossroad, in this the transitory stage, you have to check it out. What is that in the next 4 years? Once you pass out, what will be the most relevant things for you? Okay? So with this, but with this particular note, I would like to end out here because it is already close to 1 hour. Okay. Thank you.